Hey everybody, my name is Ashira Simone and today I'm going to tell you about the history of Black History Month. Alright? Cool. This video is going to tell you who, what, when, where, why. Alright? Cool. Now that you're with me, Dr. Carter G. Woodson is credited as founding Black History Month and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, I'm going to give you some background information as to who he is and why he's so important to the movement. In 1903, he earned a bachelor's of literature from a school in Kentucky. From there, he moved to public school teaching and being a superintendent in the school in the Philippines. And he did that for 4 years. After his 4 years there, he moved to the University of Chicago. He got a bachelor and a master's of arts. There, he also joined organizations. After obtaining his master's from the University of Chicago, he moved to Harvard, where he is the second Black man to have earned a PhD, only after the great W.E. Du Bois. How's that for accolades? So my man's is getting his PhD in history, because he's a history buff, right? Cool. So he gets his PhD, he does his dissertation. A dissertation is like your final. You have to run it by your entire department and they have to approve or deny you. If they denied you, then that means they denied your PhD and you have more work to do on your topic, meaning you gotta wait till the next go round. All right, cool. So he did his dissertation on the disruption of Virginia. After that, you would think that he's set in stone, good, offers is readily coming across the table. No. My man's had to still work as a public school teacher because nobody would hire him. Why? Because he's Black. So he goes from Harvard to a public school teacher with a PhD to working at Howard. Howard is a historically Black college and university, so obviously it fits that he's there. So my man's got a PhD and he's working in, I believe, history as a professor. And from there, he becomes the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. All right, so my man's got this PhD in history. And you would think, like, in the scientific world, we all meet up and we talk about and disseminate our research. Disseminate our research means explain to everybody what we've been doing and communicate it, basically. That's a fancy word, communicate. Anyway, my man's is not allowed to attend the conference because the American Historical Association was not allowing him to attend the conferences, even though my man's was paying his dues. So if I'm not allowed to the conference, then I'm just going to assume that you're either not telling my story right or not telling my story at all. So with that fear in his heart, him and some of his homeboys decided to come together and form an association that was going to focus on disseminating the history of the African American. William D. Hartgrove, George Cleveland Hall, Alexander L. Jackson, James E. Stamps, and Carter G. Woodson came together to form the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History on September 15th, 1915 in Chicago, Illinois. The association soon became known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which we will further call ASALH. On February 7th, 1926, ASALH came together to decide to have their first Negro History Week. They decided that it would be held on the second week of February to commemorate the 12th and the 14th, which is Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass's birthdays, respectively. The Black community was already celebrating their birthdays on a regular, so it wasn't nothing to just go ahead and add in that we're going to have Black History Week. But the gag is, in 1921, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated actually already started doing the Negro History and Literature Week. But they was doing theirs in April. Alright? But here's the part where most people don't know. This is where your mind starts to get blown at, right? Dr. Carter G. Woodson was also a member of ASALH and a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. It wasn't until 1925 when he finished his deanship at the West Virginia Institute that Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated put Dr. Carter G. Woodson over the program for Negro History and Literature Week. He asked the fraternity, can I change the name? They said yes. So my man decided Negro Literature and History Week was too long. So he just shorted it to Negro History Week, all right? And he asked them if he could move it to commemorate those two birthdays. They told him, yeah, it was straight. So then him and Omega, they had theirs. And then him and Asala was having theirs. But whole time, that's just like saying, I'm selling milk on this corner and you selling milk on that corner. We both pushing the same narrative. But that's how Black History Week got his feet wet, all right? So after Negro History Week got his feet wet in 1926, not too many people was picking it up. They wasn't really trying to go swimming in that. That was something new. That wasn't really what they was rocking with. So what they decided was to keep going. I'm talking about my people was making pamphlets. They printing books out. They having meetings. People started to form clubs, like actual book clubs about Black history. And they got the progressive white people doing it too. It's not just us. They got school teachers in it. They got clergymen. They asking prominent figures, everybody, to start talking about Negro History Week. But Dr. Woodson's goal wasn't never for it to stay a week. He wanted Black History Week to start going into Black History Year. He wanted this to be all day, every day, 25/8 type of thing. And that's where we're messing up at. So now that we know how Negro History Week got their feet wet, I'm going to tell you how Black History Month started to go swimming, okay? The Civil Rights Movement was in 1954 to 1968. Dr. Carter G. Woodson died in 1950. And the Civil Rights Movement was the reason that Black History Month started to get its feet wet. Because we got people like the Black Panther Party who is pushing education, who is pushing totality and wellness in the Black home. It wasn't until some students at Kent State University and their professors started to push that Black History Month should be a month. They said that they were going to start Black History Month on February 1st of 1970. And by 1976, 6 years later, our U.S. president started to endorse that. And they started to say that Black History Month was a holiday. But it wasn't until 1986, 10 years later, that Congress decided that Black History Month was a U.S. holiday. And that was done on Public Law 99-244. So Black History Month is only 34 years old officially. On a regular basis, and you'll be able to look at this video at any time of the year and know the history of where we came from. Also, I'm going to end this video by saying history does not only belong to historians, it belongs to everybody. But it is the job of the historian to disseminate their knowledge.